girl under the blanket. This urban legend involves a teenage girl who was home with her little sister while their parents were out on the town. After watching some television together, she sent her little sister to bed and then went back downstairs to watch more TV. Eventually, however, she got bored with what she was watching and turned it off, then curled up in a blanket on the couch and watched the snow fall through the large sliding glass window in the living room. She had only been watching for a few minutes when she saw a man walking towards the sliding glass doors with deadly purpose. He started to pull something shiny out of his coat, and she dove under her blanket in terror. After a while, she pulled down the blanket and found that the man was gone. She called the police, who immediately rushed over to the scene to investigate. Upon examining the premises, one of the first things that the police noticed was that there were no footprints in the snow, and with the rate of snowfall, there was no way they could have been covered that quickly. Puzzled about this fact, the officers inspected the residence and noticed wet footprints on the carpet leading straight up to the couch where the girl had been sitting. The madman had been behind her the whole time, and what she had seen had been his reflection in the window, the young college girl. This story begins with a young college girl who was studying late and thus was spending a lot of time in the library instead of her dorm room. During a late night of studying, she realized that she had forgotten something in her dorm room, so she decided to make a trip back to go and get it. When she opened the door, she found the room to be quite dark, but figured that her roommate was either asleep or out studying like her. Not wanting to disturb her in case she was asleep, she left the lights off, grabbed what she needed, and went back to the library. Upon returning to her room a few hours later, however, she found her roommate lying on the floor with a slit throat. But the worst part of this story was the message that was written in lipstick on the bathroom mirror that read simply, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights? Gas station attendant." It was late, and a young lady was driving through an unfamiliar area deep in the country. Her car was quite old and unreliable, and soon she realized that she'd have to stop for gas soon if she didn't want to start walking. As luck would have it, she came across an old gas station a little farther down the road. It was an old-fashioned station, the kind with an attendant who comes out to pump the gas, and something about it set the alarm bells ringing in her head. But she knew that she couldn't get much farther without refueling, so she reluctantly pulled into the gas station and asked the attendant to fill up the tank. The attendant seemed quite nervous as he filled up her gas tank, but eventually he finished the job and came over to the driver's side to get the payment. She gave him a $20 bill, and he examined it carefully, then told her that it was a counterfeit. At this point, the alarm bells weren't ringing anymore. They were writing. The attendant explained that he would have to take her back to his office and call his manager, because the counterfeit would have to be reported to the bank. Once he had convinced her to come with him, he explained that the bill wasn't actually a counterfeit. He'd gotten her out of the car because there was a man with a hatchet hiding in the back seat. The home invaders. While the specific stories of this urban legend are just myths, there is a chilling undertone of truth to it, since home invaders have been documented using tactics similar to this to get into people's homes. According to the stories that have circulated, someone is home alone late at night with very few lights on, just enough to indicate that someone is home and awake. But there aren't many people around. Someone comes up and, in the dead of night, just starts banging on the door and yelling to be let in. When the homeowner gets close to the door and calls out, the calls become even more insistent, yelling that someone is trying to hurt them. In one story, a lady was at home by herself when she heard a lady banging on her door and shouting to be let inside the house. When she asked who it was, the lady outside began yelling that she was being attacked by a man and needed to get somewhere safe. When the homeowner listened closely, she indeed heard a male voice, as if he was simply having a conversation with the lady. The lady outside was covering the peephole, so the homeowner peeked out the window beside the door. She could see a lady dressed in black, and from somewhere nearby, the man's voice continued to talk softly to the lady. Eventually, they both left, but it left the storyteller chilled to the bone. It's quite hard to imagine what would have happened if she had let them in. So that's it for today's Halloween special. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Until tomorrow, goodbye.